All right. I put the sign in. Did we get Christy to add this to our sign in, Legina?
I did the eval. I don't know if she added it. I think I only told her the eval.
Oh, okay. Well,
check.
Check. I know it's on the eval. I saw it. I might have only just heard eval. Okay.
We're good. And then okay, so sign-ins in there, and then if you would just join our Pear Deck as you are joining us now, that would be lovely. You need to add some music.
I know.
We've been into Hamilton at our house.
Ah, I love it. Great soundtrack.
That's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Grant, that background is amazing. I was like, is that what I think it is? I was like, that looks like it's The Office.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We need to show Ashley.
Awesome.
Behind her.
Thank you, Lee. I led a professional development yesterday, and I had that in the background, and I was like, an extra 5 points if anyone can recognize.
I had a double take. I was like, I think that looks like where they interview people. And then I was like, that's Stanley.
There's Stanley.
That's a great game. Everyone should like choose their background. It's like guess your background game like that.
I'm telling you, it was either this or I was going to do Central Perk from Friends. I was like,
yes.
I was like the follow-up. So
now I'm getting ideas. I love it.
That's awesome.
Got to have fun with the situation.
Absolutely. I think we're still waiting on a few, aren't we, Legina?
I think so. I got a minus our peeps.
13. We'll give it another minute. Let me copy and paste this again. So if you just joined, sending the link to the sign-in, and then if you would join our Pear Deck, go to joinpd.com, and then the code is there, VMQDQE. Three.
You can maybe tell us we're missing 2.
That sounds right.
I don't see Alicia, but I could be wrong.
Nope. Maybe we can get started and they might just join us late.
All right, that works for me. All right, well, welcome everybody to our November PLN. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and sign in. VMQDQE. And then I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, Kelly.
Okay, so I get the fun part. This is a little I guess, icebreaker, but like, yeah, it's an icebreaker. Getting to know you, getting to know yourself. So what you should do right now is take a minute to think of your top 3 favorite movies. And they don't get too you know, caught up in, are they truly my favorite or not? But like, just think about it for a second and get two of your, at least the movies you like a lot or favorite movies. Don't type them in the chat box yet. Or actually,
there's a text box.
Never mind. We're good. Never mind. You can do it in Pear Deck. We're not showing them yet. So sorry, I forgot. We did it yesterday with one of our teams and we did it in the chat. So my bad. But yeah, go ahead and type them in. Take a minute because, you know, you need that think time.
Oh, we have some.
Nice.
And if you read the passion section, you kind of know where this is going, but.
These are some good ones. Right. I love Elf.
I forgot about the Sandlot when we did this. Look, now I'm not going to stop commenting.
Nerd alert. New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, The Last Samurai, all Star Wars, all Lord of the Rings. Oh, Pollyanna.
That's an oh yes.
A lot of I'm like Goonies. Someone had that yesterday. I know who that is. The Three Ninjas. I think I remember that.
I also love How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That is a go-to.
Yeah.
It is funny.
Hocus Pocus.
Yep.
Fun fact with How to Lose a Guy, that's the only movie that Matthew McConaughey said that he would ever make a sequel to. This a romantic comedy that he did.
Really?
I love that movie, Adventures in Babysitting, whoever wrote that, because I grew up in Chicago and I always remember that, especially the train station, because you'd always see rats in Chicago train station.
Ah, gross.
Saying.
Just saying.
I love Actually too. That's a good one.
It's a good seasonal pick. Oh, yep. Somebody's on a seasonal pick overall right there.
Yeah.
All right. So as you're typing and finishing up your thoughts, what we're going to start doing is going through them and associating them with whoever wrote them. And as a team, we're going to think about the common theme between all three of your movies. So, and then we're going to think about what does that theme say about you as a teacher? So like a theme might be like mine was super cheesy yesterday. I was like, all of my movies are very emotional. And oh my God, yes, when I was in the classroom, I was I was emotional about it. I was it was cheesy, but true. Like I loved my kids. I was always like, you know, I'd get in the classroom, shut the door, and I'd be in a different mood. Like it was just different. So yes. So think about, we can maybe start going through some of them, thinking about a common theme between some of these triplets, I guess we can call them. And yeah. So would anybody like to share what they did first? And maybe we can all give some feedback on the theme we might think if they're familiar with the movies.
You want me to read them out? There's someone in here.
Do it that way, yeah.
Someone said all the movies about extreme endurance and overcoming improbable odds, family and love.
Nice.
Love, family. Someone said fantasy, childlike. And we're still coming in.
Childlike. So if anybody wants to share like the three movies they thought of and the theme that you thought of at the same time, and maybe talk about that, I would love to know. I kind of want to know like what your movies were with your theme.
So my movies were Mamma Mia, Elf, and pretty much all of the Marvel movies.
Nice.
I really don't know what the common theme with those three movies are.
Something about like a lost father, lost parents.
Possibly a lot of action.
Although the Marvel doesn't really work.
Well, aren't they kind of a family though? A family, like a unique, like family. They come from different, but they have that one bond.
Saving the world, you know.
Yeah.
Totally go for saving the world. That one.
Joanna, I was also thinking like high energy. They're all like, none of these movies are slow. Not a single one. Like they're all like either dancing and singing or just insanity like an elf or just, you know,
happy
high action. So That's another
Yes,
thing.
I am quite the sloth around here lately. So
Gosh, aren't we all?
I have been known to have a little bit of energy in my teaching.
Awesome. I love it. Anybody else want to share?
I figure I probably should go after Joanna, since my movies were Elf, Princess Bride, and Ragnarok. So they're almost the same.
Yeah, same themes there, kind of, huh?
Look, I figured it's because it's about loyalty, good versus evil, and then ultimately snark, like straight wit is my cornerstone in the classroom.
Yep.
So Ragnarok is the next one on the list. We're watching in order, and I haven't seen it yet, but that's
It
next.
might be one of my favorites. Like, it's
Really?
so lighthearted, and then the character development's really nice.
Yes.
Okay. Notes taken.
Mine were a little different, I guess, especially for my personality. Well, I'm a nerd, so, but mine was The Last Samurai. I love history. If I didn't do science, I would have been a history teacher or a history dork or whatever. I kind of am. If I'm not reading something about science, it's about history. I love history and Tom Cruise. So, and then anything Star Wars and all of Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
So what do you think that theme is?
Overcoming improbable odds.
Yes.
All politicians who are listening. You know, overcoming odds. In my 41 years of existence on this earth, if there's a roadblock thrown up in my way, I'm going to find a way around it. And sometimes I just lower my shoulder and go straight through it. So, you know.
Perfect.
Yep.
So I guess they do describe me a little bit, I guess.
I love it. So yeah, anybody else want to share? Because I mean, if not, at least I hope you're taking something away from this, like, oh yeah, that kind of does weirdly fit me and I didn't even realize. So if anybody else would like to share, go for it.
Mine were The Sandlot, Dirty Dancing, and Dazed and Confused, and they're all like generational movies. Like they're all like 50s and 60s.
It's like nostalgia kind of stuff, right? That's cool though. So what do you think that tells you about your teaching?
I'm timeless. Timeless and classic.
Love it. Yeah, that was a hard one. I was like, I wonder how can we do that? But yeah, timeless is good. Awesome. Thanks for your participation, everybody. That was fun.
And something like that can be done with, like, you don't have to do movies. Like, you can do music or like TV show. TV show would have been a lot easier for me, to be honest. I feel like I watch a lot more TV shows than I do movies, or have favorites. But something fun that can be done with staff or kids.
All right, moving on to our next one. So hopefully everyone was able to get their Lead Like a Pirate book. And we broke you out into the different sections to talk about pirate. And so we are going to move into breakout rooms. And so once you're in your breakout room, there is a link in the Pear Deck for you to click on to get to the Jamboard. And so you're going to work as a group to think about symbols and images to represent the key ideas of your letter. Important words, phrases that represent your section, important quotes from your section, and then connections to your leadership role in school. We know that this book talks a lot about being a principal, where in your building, which could be, you know, if you're a team lead, how you lead the L department, how you're a leader within IELP, what are some things that you can make that connection to the many leadership hats that you wear. And then before you leave your breakout, just choose one person that will be the spokesperson, just to give like a little snippet commercial of what your group decided to do, to talk about your letter. And then we will share out. Chelsea, I think we're ready for breakout groups.
All right, I'm almost there. Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Oh, so if it isn't clicking, I think the Jamboard, I can never, when I'm on here.
It's down on the bottom. There should be a link. Down at the bottom.
I think the way I've got.
Someone can maybe put that in the chat too.
There it is.
So it might come up with your like the not working sign, but the link at the bottom should work. We all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Opening your rooms. Okay. I should have Amber, Jessica, and Alicia. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, wait,
I was
didn't
gonna
go anywhere.
say,
I was so
I
confused.
don't see a breakout room. What am I doing wrong? Why am I the last
there
one
we
in
go.
here?
Because you're staying with me, because we're peak.
Okay.
Okay, so let's pull up our Jamboard. And do the directions make sense to you all?
Yes.
Okay, they're on this first page too, if we need them. But let's think about P, which is passion. And we can kind of all add together, but what are some symbols or images to represent our section, some important words or phrases, some important quotes, and then any connections to like your leadership in your school, right? Probably like over English learners, or what it could be.
I'd like to start. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on mom duty as well. The first quote on the first page of the chapter, where it said, the working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. I drew a heart next to that. I liked it so much.
Love it. I'll add it on here. Is that okay, Jessica?
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't know I could. I've never seen Jamboard, so this is new.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you teach elementary or
middle?
Middle.
Oh, middle. Because when you get back into, oh, well, no, never mind. That's a lie. Elementary uses it for Canvas.
Huh.
Yeah, we use it a lot too. We haven't put it much in ELA though. So maybe that's why.
Well, now I'm going to try it next week. So thanks.
Yeah.
So one of the bigger ones that stands out to me is just the current research that I'm doing. It's based on anti-racist pedagogy, or pedagogy, however you want to say it. And the line that really stuck out to me is that we are passionate about the belief that it isn't programs that teach kids, it's teachers.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that.
I can put it in there too. Can you
Awesome.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So for me, the very first thing that I highlighted is passion is contagious.
Yep.
I think that's important as a leader. When you're passionate about something, other people kind of follow suit.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'll add that in there. Like kind of it was a quote, right?
Yeah.
From them, right? Not like one of the quotes at the beginning.
No, yeah, it was from them.
Okay, perfect. The only thing is I wish you could change the font on here. You can't change the font. All right. What symbols maybe could we add? I see like the Y, I see the heart kind of representing passion.
Ms. Whitten, please report to the front office. Ms.
Sorry.
Whitten, please report.
Hey.
It did talk about like content passion, professional passion, personal passion, right? So I wonder, Why is this not? Oh, no, this one. Nope. Google image search is what I want. So maybe like subject area.
When referencing what you were just talking about, in my book, that's where I wrote like reading, because that's why I am a language arts teacher, because I'm passionate about reading, and one of my goals is to then help foster that in the kids. So yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Perfect. So right, that content passion, what they say, the professional passion, like just around teaching itself, right? So maybe finding a teacher, and then personal passion, which I'm glad they talked about that too. Like, you know, that needs to be a part of it, be thought of. Others should know what your personal passions are. You should know what others' personal passions are.
So the passion that I wrote down, that I just kept thinking, I feel like it fit for content and professional, is advocacy. Like fighting for my kids.
Yep.
When other people aren't.
Yeah, I love that. Do you want to add that as a word, a picture?
Yeah, I put the picture of all the kids with their arms around each other. It's like they were saying, like fighting for your kids. And honestly, my biggest passion in teaching is like these kids are our future, and we're building this future. And in order for our world to become a better place for all, we have to make sure the children know that first. So that's my drive.
Love it.
And I put why, because I think passion is your why. Like what you're passionate about or why you do it.
Yep. That's why we became teachers, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting when you say that though, because people's like why they're like, so like TFAs, for example, and this isn't a call TFAs out. This is to say like, we've had TFAs whose passion has changed because of teaching into teaching. So it's just interesting how your passion could change and be different.
Agreed.
But,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hasna, I tried to put you back in your group. See if that came up for you. Oh, there we go. Okay. The advocacy to Alicia, I feel like goes in with that connections to your leadership role. Like that is our leadership role, right? In the school building is to lead almost the L department in your school or advocate for those English learners. So I think that goes with it as well. Do you all feel like, because this is very much geared towards like administrators, maybe facilitators, did you feel like you were still able to connect in a lot of ways?
I think so.
Yeah, good, I agree.
And I think for me, I'm PLC lead on my grade. And obviously we are with L education right now.
Yes.
And I think sometimes it's hard to find your passion in the curriculum if you didn't write it,
yeah,
or find it or choose it. Mm-hmm. And I think this could be, it could be something I work on with my team. Like,
yeah,
let's find something we are passionate about in this and let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Discussion about it might help us as we work through the curriculum.
I like that. I wonder, and it talks here about your crew a lot too, right? Mm-hmm. So like maybe something like that to represent like let's see if we can find a pirate crew. That would be kind of funny.
I think that really goes along because today at a meeting I was in with the district, that I'm allowed to, like, there's just a lot of complaints about how it's structured, but that's where I believe my passion is, believing that a program's not going to teach my kid, but I am. or my kids, and taking that role of, you know, modifying and supplementing where needed in that curriculum, because it's not conducive for all. So that was one of the big conversations we had today, was just like, you know, it's something.
Can you find a candle?
Yeah, I'm going to, I forgot to check time, so I'm guessing it's like 1 minute, 2 minutes, do you think, for everyone? I think we're about done, right? So I'll just say 1 minute. Okay, a candle, yes.
Because it says, I discovered that passionate leaders also need patience. Once we light a spark, we need to give it time to catch.
Yes. I love that.
I love metaphors. So anything that's written in a metaphor is like, ding, ding, ding.
Yep. Agreed. I feel like I don't speak very metaphorically, but like I always like the different metaphors. All right. I think we're pretty good. Who wants to be our spokesperson? Who wants to do it?
I nominate Amber because she had a lot of really good stuff to say.
Oh,
I
agree. Oh man. All right. Okay. No worries.
Sorry, Amber.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. It's just been a long day. I just had literally a 4-hour Zoom meeting, and I straight, and I feel so fried right now. But I'm excited. I'm excited to share this, you guys. What's that quote again about the candle? I feel like I gotta find that one. Exactly what page that's on.
Page 9.
9? Okay, cool. First paragraph.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11th line in the under why knowing your crew passions matters.
Okay.
Once we light a spark, we need to give it time to catch.
I love that. When you said it, it was perfect. So I'm gonna start with that.
All right. Well, and we'll be first, so we could just get this out of the way.
That's perfect.
Let me stop my share so Gina can do hers. Good job, team. That was good.
That was fun. I like that. I think I like Jamboard better with adults than kids, though. I mean, I still do it, but it's just so like, I'm like, no, not that slide, the other one. Like, don't do not that one, this one.
You have to like teach them all the functionalities. I know.
Oh my goodness.
Amber, I see.
Hi, Jen. Excited to see you.
You too, friend.
Looks like everybody's back. So we'll just go ahead and go through these, and then your spokesperson, just do a quick little snippet of your letter and what insights you guys talked about.
Do we want to do waterfall?
Oh, that's right. Yes. So let me talk about that. So after each group shares, if you'll listen for one thing that you agree with, and then I'll say like, put your idea in the chat, and then I'll tell you to push enter, and then all the responses will come in, and then we'll look through those. All right, let's go back to letter P.
All right. Well, we are P for passion. So first off, we need to know types of passion, content, passion, what you love to do, passion, and then also professional passion. So what we did is we kind of summed it up by saying that passion is contagious. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress, but if we love something where we have passion within it, we consider that passion is your why you do it, why it's something you love and you continue to do. And then also we kind of trickle down to how we need to think about, we have a crew. We have passion with our crew of people around, with our students. We're teaching them how to interact with the world. And that's a passion for me, is like having the love of kids and teaching them about the future. And then we have my favorite line, thank you for shared. Once we light a spark, we need to give it time to catch. So the changes that we can make off of our passion, it may take some time, like that candle that you see there, but once we have that passion in our heart, it will keep burning until we make it stop. But that's about it.
Okay, so everybody get your aha from passion and type it into the chat and then press send. They're coming in.
Yes, a lot of people connected with that that spark, Alicia, that you brought up. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
and
I see some whys too.
Needs to catch you up, and then the why. That passion is your why.
All right, great. Let's move on to the next letter. I.
Okay, so for I, we were going over, and there was a great acronym in this section for LEAD, and it was for leveraging systems, elevating the impact, activating a team, and delete. So this was really a great summary of how you should lead. The leveraging systems, know who you can trust. So we have the trust fall image of trust your teammates, trust that they're going to show up for you and their opinions. They're not going to lead you down a dark hallway and just close the door. The elevate the impact, prioritize what is your end goal. So there was a great example of the assistant principal. She went out to get coffee because she was so exhausted leading instead of spending the time in a classroom helping her teachers. So she had that aha moment when she was in the car getting her coffee for herself instead of being in a classroom. So she was wearing herself out and not in the good way, helping. Activating a team, rely on one another. And the delete, we kept coming back to as the let it go from Frozen. Get rid of things that are not important to you. So don't focus on the middle or the minimal problems. Our pictures have the lifeguard. Don't be a lifeguard administrator. And the same thing for teaching. Don't just stand on a tall chair and look at things that are happening. Be part of the swimmers. Be in the water. Swim with them. Help them if they need some support. Be one with your community. And perspective. We kept coming back to being a leader is understanding that perspective. We see things differently. So we have that great image of the two people looking down at the same number. One will see the number 6, one will see the number 9, and have the perspective to listen to each other. So there's going to be problems, but most likely there's going to be a solution because we all have a common problem. And really quick, there's a great example in that section of students kept getting sent to the office, and that was upsetting the secretaries, that was upsetting the principal, and that was upsetting the teachers. So there was 3 different roles. And once the administrator, she asked them for a solution. She told them, well, the teachers see the problem from this perspective, secretaries see it from this perspective, and the principal sees it from here. And it wasn't until they took that moment to see, well, the teachers thought there was no problem, but they didn't see it from the secretary's point of view. The secretaries didn't see the problem from the teacher's view. So give yourself and your people around you that opportunity to understand what the problem is so you can come up with a solution.
Very nice. All right, think about your takeaway and just start typing it, but do not press enter. So start typing it. And then go ahead and push send. Oh, I can play that.
I
Kelsey,
definitely.
can you tell me what the chat says?
Yeah, I was just going to. Definitely a lot about like the lifeguarding versus the swimmer, right? That a lot of people kind of connected to that delete perspective and priorities, knowing what's important and working it, being intentional and taking control, prioritizing the most powerful work. Yes, love that. Yes, utilizing, enriching your team, a lot of those same things. Awesome.
I like it. All right, on to the next. R.
I worked with a fabulous team, but we forgot to choose a spokesperson. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You want to do it, Stacey?
Or Debbie and Lynn, we could each maybe choose, each of us choose something to share, and then I can start. We kind of started with this idea of a culture built on trust, which I saw another group speak about. So it was kind of a nice connection, and we included an image of a trust ball, because trust is really the first step to leadership, and also made the connection with this quote: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
And then the important thing was we felt like that that trust is important to build. You make those connections, you build those relationships to make those connections that are important, and never underestimate the power of face-to-face interaction. People want to know that you care, and they want to put their trust in you, knowing that you're gonna take the time for them, that they want to have that sense of belonging. In addition, that I felt like that made the connection for me in crucial conversations. When you've got important things you've got to do, you have to start with the heart. You have to start with what's important, what you have in common, so that especially when you're leading or when you're teaching, nobody really cares that you're an expert in everything. They want to be able to trust you. And sometimes that's a time issue, taking the time to get to know people, taking the time to invest in what's going on with them in order to gain their trust to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and then we've had the picture of the cornerstone for the foundation, because everything that Debbie just said, that's the foundation for building the rapport, which is what the R stands for. So if you don't do all these things first, then the whole relationship, everything that you've built up is going to flounder because you don't have that strong foundation. So that's why we have the picture of the foundation in there.
Right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for sharing. Go ahead and put in the chat, just start typing your takeaways. And then go ahead and send. That's a good one. Start with the heart. Trust, relationships lead to learning. I think that's like the foundation to everything in a school building, right? Building those relationships with teachers, with staff. Start with the heart. Face-to-face interaction. I know, which is so hard in this remote learning hybrid thing that we have going on. Right, very nice. All All right, let's go with A.
All right, so my team had A, and that's ask and analyze. So the chapter really starts out with talking about how, you know, asking questions about what you've done in the past can help you to be more successful with the endeavors that you're working towards in the future. So that's kind of why we put the that picture in the lower right where people are planning, because asking questions is really like a jumping off point for figuring out what, you know, I think Amanda said when we were in the group that 80% is planning and 20% is execution when you're doing something new. So that really rang true. The picture of the sparks, that was because if you ask the right questions, they can inspire so much change, but you have to ask the right questions. So I would really encourage you all to read the chapter. On page 49, there are really good examples of traditional questions that you might ask, and how you could change those to transformative questions, because good questions inform and great questions transform. You know, they're transformative questions because when someone's even just answering a transformative question, it could change their whole outlook on what they're doing. And if you ask yourself transformative questions as a teacher, it can change the way that you interact with your students and the way that you plan your lessons, and it could make all the difference to inspire some really good change. Now, the last thing is the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset thing. There was a little quote. It's like, don't be afraid to ask yourself like what went well and what didn't go well. And you can learn from your mistakes if you take the time to ask yourself like, why didn't this go exactly how I wanted it to? And there's a little quote that I don't think we have up there, but on page 50, it says, there isn't failure, only feedback. Like if you're not afraid to ask why something failed and grow from it, then that's not a failure. It's just something that can propel you to further success. So I think there were a lot of different dimensions to ask and analyze. So it was a cool read.
No, thank you, Philip, for sharing your group's discussion. All right, go ahead and start typing your info. And then go ahead and press send. A lot of transformative questions, a little bit of growth mindset, asking the right questions. All right. Learning from your mistakes, asking and analyzing. All right, let's move to T.
We also forgot to pick a spokesperson, so I'm going to nominate one of my group members.
You are? Oh
yeah, I am.
That's a great leadership.
I love that. I love that.
Just, you know, practice.
Okay.
Well, Ashley or Jen, if you'd like. If not, I'll take it. But I want to give the opportunity because I talk too much.
You know what? Someone in my group said that same thing, and I said, I just don't think that's true.
So we were talking about it, and we're honestly a little bit underwhelmed by this chapter. It seemed very vague, and didn't kind of get into some specifics of how that transformation can occur beyond kind of what we already talk about as teachers and leaders. But some of the big ideas were in the middle. We have the thinking big. So the idea that like the status quo is what's good, but we need to think beyond that. And so be thinking of ways to always improve that. And just because something is going fine doesn't mean that we should stay there. It means that we need to keep growing, keep thinking, keep making changes. And so we have a lack of visuals, but some words. So true transformation doesn't take time, or it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. And that was one of the things mentioned. I think the principal this kind of big and even district-wide growth is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that has to be believed in by stakeholders, and it takes time to implement, and that's okay. Yeah, I already mentioned the Blue Note. And then a summary, you can kind of see it's about environment, rigor, SMART goals, collaboration. So it takes time to build consensus, collaborate, have discussions with all stakeholders. And that's another important part of it is everyone needs to be on board for true, genuine transformation to occur on a school level, as opposed to even just in a classroom or a grade level or a grade band. It needs to be intentional collaboration for transformation.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, go ahead and start typing your takeaway. And then go ahead and press enter.
Thanks, Ashley.
And then can somebody help me read what's in the chat? Somehow I cannot bring it up. I was able to, and not anymore.
Yes. Sorry, I muted myself because my dog was barking like crazy.
Yeah, I heard Rue.
A lot of people connecting to transformation takes time, right? I think Philip wrote, Rome wasn't built in a day. Change takes time. Thinking big. Yeah, that was mostly it. I have to read this chapter. I'm disappointed for you guys.
Yeah, it was, and that's kind of why we like spent a lot of our time like, yeah, we all were, and all three of us had the same, like, wait, you felt that way too? It was just kind of like obvious, and yeah, so heads up, but it's interesting to skim through.
Okay. And then I was the last one, E.
So E was enthusiasm. And for us, some of our biggest takeaway, I think all of us said this, was number one, perfectionism isn't something that we're working towards right now. And part of enthusiasm is like faking it until you make it, like fake it until you feel it, was our like summary of that. And that like being able to lead with enthusiasm and lead with passion is like important to create an environment where people feel successful, and that like you can't fix what is outside of your control, which is something really big that's like come to my, at least for me, this was like my biggest takeaway, is that you can't allow something that's outside of your control to like impact your teaching, or I guess leading, as this book is about. And just focus on what you can control, but be willing to step outside of the box if necessary.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. All right, go ahead and go ahead and put in the chat, start typing. And then go ahead and waterfall it.
As it's going in, we were watching a video about like, what is it? Get your lead on. No. Yeah, get your lead on yesterday. And this woman was talking about, we don't want teachers to be good by accident. And I like kind of connected to this because it's like, we kind of need to fake it sometimes, but we also need to know why we did well, right? Like, so you can continue doing the good things and you're not just a good teacher by accident sometimes. And that's kind of how we grow. So when you said that, I kind of connected to that because it's so true. We don't want good teachers by accident, and we don't want good students by accident. We want them to know why they did that. A lot of people are saying stepping out of the box, don't stress what you can't control, focus on what you can control, be present, lead with enthusiasm, own your energy and feelings so we can feel success as it starts. Stepping outside of the box. Awesome.
All right, thank you guys. Let's move on. I'm gonna go back to Pear Deck. And we're gonna move on to our next activity. Stacy?
Awesome. So we're gonna kind of move from this idea of leadership into this idea of instructional leadership. And you all had a homework assignment to kind of explore this document, the core action guidance for English learners. There was a note catcher assignment and we asked you to kind of take a look at it. So we're going to review some of the key takeaways that were on that document. Now, if you haven't used Flippity before, then I'm really, really excited to show you this, especially in conjunction with Pear Deck. So if you're on your Pear Deck now, you're gonna see to the right of your screen some little text boxes that you can click on and move around and have a little manipulative moment with those text boxes. And what we're going to ask you to do is to sort those text boxes as they relate to the core actions. We're going to ask you to try to not look at your homework or that document, but if you need to, you have it for support to kind of take these indicators and to group them into core action 1, core action 2, core action 3, and social emotional supports. I'm going to give you some time to work on it. Before I do, I just want to caution you that even I was challenged with this. And don't worry, we're all kind of feeling that struggle with this assignment. So I'm going to give you a minute to move those pieces around in a way that makes sense for you. As you're working on that, I'll just point out that one of my favorite things about this is it's a very safe space for students to kind of interact with something that might be a bit of a struggle because you have your own set. And so there's some anonymity there to where we're not seeing what you're doing. And even if you're not finished, we're going to give you just about 1 more minute to get as far as you can.
And just a little clue for core action 1, there should be 3. Core action 2, there should be 4. Core action 3, there should be 4. And then social emotional support should have 5. Might be a little helpful.
I couldn't find the social emotional supports in core action 3 until I scrolled down. Oh my God, don't look at mine.
We can't see yours. That's what's nice.
We can't see yours. So that thing that I pulled up. So this is mine. No one else can see it unless I were to share it. No one can see it. No.
Yeah, we can't access yours at all. It's kind of nice for the students.
Yeah, so the student would have to, I'd have to stop sharing and then let them share their screen in order for them to talk about it. Because the first time we did this in a department meeting, I don't think I had any right.
I'm struggling right now and I literally just did the answer sheet. So
I know, I'm always like, okay, what am I looking for?
So that's a great segue. Even if you're not kind of finished, we can show you what the actual answers are. But if you've ever taken a PACE or, you know, it used to be called QTEL PD with us, you know that the learning is more important than the results. So if you want to unmute yourself for this discussion, or if you want to interact in the chat box, either way is fine. But my question is, what made that a struggle? What did you struggle with this activity?
It was kind of overwhelming because there were so many boxes and a lot of words just kind of like everywhere. So it was a little overwhelming just because there was so much information to sort.
And it seemed like a lot of similar verbiage too.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
I said it seemed like a lot of similar verbiage too between some of them, and so it's like, oh, the key word that I'm looking for is in multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I feel like a lot of them are interrelated. Like they could fit into more than one category.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And full transparency, I was lucky enough to be a part of the team that created this document. And when I came to sort it, I was like, oh, I'm struggling. Why am I struggling? And really those core actions are so intertwined, right? Core action 1 of having a complex text, core action 2 of analytical thinking, core action 3 of all students engaged, and then the socio-emotional supports being kind of the foundation for all of that. It's just all, our work is just so intertwined, right? That if one part is weak, then it bleeds into other parts. And if all the parts are strong, then it really, really starts to come together. So thank you all for interacting with us on that. If you're interested in creating something like that for your class, I'm gonna put the website in the chat box. It's flippity.net, and there's all kinds of really, really cool little digital interactive moments that you can do with that website.
The only thing with this is that you can't do images. Right, Stacey?
You can, but it is
you
cumbersome.
can? Oh, okay. I'm not to your level.
It's a lot of work. So maybe just skip it now until you're really good at
drawings. So if you're really into it, let me know and I can let you know. But
I just do words, but with the words, we like it.
It's great for language dives.
Yes.
Great for language dives.
Stacey, I'm gonna have to find out from you and Chelsea how to do the pictures because Adrienne and I tried to do that a couple of weeks ago and we couldn't do it. So I'll get with them.
Anybody else who's interested, we'll just nerd out. That'll be fun.
Love it.
So we know that these are complex, right? And they involve a lot. And so we are not going to expect to see all of these things or for you to focus on all of these things. We probably will see all of these things at one time. We can go to the next slide, Legina.
Okay, sorry.
So we are going to just focus in between now and our next PLN on core action number 3, which is all students engaged. And the reason that we chose to skip down to this one is, you may know this, but the district is focused on student engagement right now, right? So to align with the district, we just decided to start there. And it's a fun one to kind of start with. So what we're going to do is, and that document's not coming up again, but we'll get that in the chat for you. It's the core actions document. So if you already have it pulled up, that's all you're gonna need. But you're gonna use it as you watch a video of a kind of like a model lesson. And we only want you to focus in on core action number 3. So this is an 8th grade science lesson. And what we want you to do is, as you watch this lesson, only focus in on core action number 3. And you're gonna take some notes, some non-inferential notes. So just what are you seeing, right? Don't make any inferences about what's going on. Just what do you see based on these 4 different indicators. And then we're gonna kind of have you share out about each of the different indicators. So if you're comfortable writing that on a piece of paper, you may do that. If you wanna just write it in your note catcher, you can do that. We'll give you a couple minutes afterwards to kind of write some things down. But really just think about student engagement as you watch this model lesson. Real quick, it is an in-person lesson. I know we're mostly remote right now, but you know, we're not going to be that way forever. And it is, it's a good example. So just keep that in mind.
If you remember from last week's experiment, this thing, if you spin it, it generates electricity.
In Peter Hill's 8th grade science class, students are learning to read and think like scientists, closely reading a complex scientific article. They are developing a conceptual understanding of how electricity works.
I was talking to a scientist once, and he said, look, my job is 10% experimenting, 40% writing, and 50% reading. So I want kids to kind of have a middle school version of that experience in my classroom. Basically today, we're going to read a really complicated article that explains why moving magnets over wires makes electricity. All of this stuff is focused on this target. I can explain how magnets and wires work together to affect electrical energy. So today we're going to learn the why. I had a pretty complex text that I wanted the kids to dive into. It had complex vocabulary, complex concepts. A lot of the concepts were abstract. We're talking about
Oops, looks like internet problems. Sorry about that.
Before you even start the article, you're going to work in teams to do this activity that we call GPS. Does anybody know what GPS stands for? Eve?
Global Positioning System?
It does for most scientists. For us, it's standing for something much more basic: glue, paper, and scissors. All right, so you'll see what that... Before we started reading, we looked at the vocabulary that was going to turn up in the text. I took the text that you're about to read, and I took out all the key vocabulary words. I sliced them up into individual little tags. With your teams, you're going to take apart those tags, you're going to spread them out, and you're going to talk about the words. You're going to organize them on that blue piece of paper in a way that makes sense to your team.
Are we going to do sentences? Yeah. So maybe like all the types. Let's do like a mind map.
Maybe we should have like what it is on one side and like the...
We have a heterogeneous class with readers from all over the world and at all different levels. The value in that activity is the kids sitting together and talking about the words and just having those in the forefront of their mind so that we can transition right into reading the text.
What about conduction? Two words that I was struggling with were induction and conduction.
Do you remember the video you guys watched about Tesla?
Yeah.
He invented the induction motor.
During the activity, it helped me like know which one is which.
Like, what does a train conductor do?
He controls the train like to where it should go.
Yeah, so there's an element of movement usually involved.
And how they interact with electricity.
It's like causing something to happen, making some movement. So that, you can probably think about how that relates to electrons. We're going to actually tackle the article now. So you have a choice to make about how you want to read this article. This one, which is the article in the separate note catcher. If you feel like this stuff is totally brand new to you and the categorization might be difficult, grab this one, which has the note catcher kind of embedded right in the text. We think it's important that all kids read the same text. We just had different options for how the text was formatted.
Peter came to me before this lesson and said, you know, I want to use this particular reading about electricity, but I'm concerned that it might not be accessible, especially for some of our English language learners. So he took me through the article and the note catcher that he designed.
We found a way to chunk out the text and embed some note catchers and sentence starters in those note catchers. So students that are struggling with reading or students that are learning English could access that difficult text, but with just some scaffolds built in so that they could still be successful.
I chose an article that had a sheet and then an extra note catcher attached to it. And I tend to write a lot, and by having that extra space, it makes me want to write more and have more detail in it.
I chose one that would suit me best on my level of the topic electricity. And the one I chose had a vocabulary section and a section where you can take notes.
One thing that's hard for students is moving back and forth between the text and the notes. I took the note catcher and divided it along the same headings as the article. Guiding them in that movement from the article to the note catcher and back helps them keep track of their thinking as they read.
I'm going to read the first paragraph out loud. And then at the end of the paragraph, I'm going to ask you to do a cat pee on the page. Because remember, cat pee is the strategy we're going to use to keep ourselves focused while we're reading. We have a classroom strategy that we use all year long. And what kids do is, as they're reading, they code the text in one of four ways. They could make a connection to something they know. They could ask a question. They could translate the information into their own words, or they could predict what's going to happen next in the text. So we affectionately call that cat pee. Flip a switch, turn a knob, plug in a battery, press a power button. All of these actions turn on the electrical devices that we use each day.
When someone reads the text, rather than focusing on reading, you can actually focus on like what it's actually saying and what it means.
I think it's important for kids to hear difficult things read with the proper inflection and read well. That gives them an opportunity to hear the words and to hear the cadence and the sentence structure. Since everything in the universe is made of atoms, everything in the universe also contains electrons. Okay, write down what you're thinking right now. Okay, lean across the table, talk to the person that you're facing, and have a conversation with them about what you were thinking when you read that paragraph.
I said everything in the universe contains electrons.
I said electricity is based off of electrons.
I did connection and I said if two electrons touch each other, they produce electricity.
So as the year goes on and kids become more comfortable with this close reading strategy, that frees me up to go around and check in with kids.
If you just rush through a text, then you wouldn't understand anything about it. But if you like read it carefully and you use cat pee, then you can you would understand and you would know what's going on in the text.
I think you've got what you need to be able to tackle this at home. We're going to use it for a group activity tomorrow. So put that in a safe place so we can get done.
If you couldn't tell, Kelly and I taught middle school because every time they said Cappy, I think we laughed. But what a great way to catch the attention of some middle schoolers. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 1 minute just to kind of quickly jot down any last notes about engagement, and then we'll have you kind of share out. All right, so hopefully you just at least have something that you can talk about here, but we're gonna go through each of the different indicators, and feel free to either use the chat box or unmute yourself to kind of share the different things that you notice in this lesson related to engagement. So the first indicator says that students are actively engaged with the evidence or task through collaborative interactions, both in person and virtual, using evidence-based instructional strategies. There are some examples down there at the bottom, but what did you see in this lesson?
I love seeing the students in pods, working together. The collaboration part was something I really saw stand out and caused them to interact and speak.
Awesome. Yeah. And a couple of people in the chat saying the same thing, right? The partner and group discussions, that collaborative poster.
I really appreciate that. In science, much like other content areas, text is not just written word, it's diagrams and it's model. And so the teacher took the diagram and the models, and he had a real life model of that electromagnetic field that he created. He did a demonstration with a model. We call those discrepant events in science.
Yes.
And I think there are similar techniques in other content areas. And I just thought that it's powerful to have a model, even virtually. When you can pull a model up and show a kid, it's really powerful.
Yes, Absolutely. We love that this was a science lesson because usually get ELA or math. And so we were excited to have that too. Ashley wrote the quick writes, the CAP-P strategy, right? Pausing during the reading to have students jot down their thoughts. Awesome. Let's move on to the next indicator because I think some of you mentioned the next indicator. So teachers use intentional language supports to maximize engagement. So thinking about word banks, discussion frames, echo reading or choral reading. What did you see? What was some evidence of this?
Well, I noticed he mentioned reading aloud so that students could hear the proper pronunciation, especially of these difficult scientific words, and know how they're supposed to sound.
Yes, absolutely. He was reading it, stopping, they would jot down their notes. Yep.
I also loved, and kind of piggybacking off what Jessica just said, I really love how even the students connected that. I was able to listen to the information, the content, because I wasn't stressed about saying those. And they're talking about saying those tier 3 vocab words.
Yep.
I also love the level of differentiation, and that this content teacher and the ESL teacher were working together. My teacher heart was just like, yes.
That's talk about passion, right? Like that, I just got passionate about that, like seeing that amazing teaching going on, that amazing collaboration. And a lot of you have mentioned that in the chat box, that opportunity to choose their text with no catcher based on their learning style. That was something that we all were like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. We text engineer all the time. Why haven't we thought about this before? So love that. Okay, next one. Students voice ideas and perspectives freely, equitably, and respectfully, ensuring each individual is an active contributor to the community. What was some of the evidence of these things? The round robin discussion that the students were having, yes. Group turn taking. What else?
I noticed that the English learner in the classroom felt comfortable enough to share with his group. So you can tell that that's something that he does often and has had chances to be able to collaborate with his team. So he has that comfortability.
Yep, I had the same thought. Like changing up, yes, Jessica, like changing up the different partners. So work with a person across from you rather than just the one next to you. Yes, absolutely, changing those up. He said, heterogeneous grouping with that too. Awesome. And yeah, so like giving the students choice in the way that they take the notes probably led to those discussions too, right? That kind of helped out because maybe they were able to internalize it a little bit more. I like that as well. Okay, one last one. Oh,
I really liked how they did the different note, like they did the same text, but they laid it out differently. I mean, it really aligns with what we're doing. Give them access to grade level text, not trying to simplify it anymore. And it just, I really, really like that a lot.
Absolutely. We agree. Okay, our last one. Teachers capitalize on opportunities to interact and use languages in meaningful ways. So what did you notice for this one? Did we see any evidence of this in the lesson? There was the poster with the vocabulary words and in the note catcher as well, right? They had the vocabulary listed. The translation option in CAP-P, the funniest strategy.
I also liked how the teacher, like for instance, when he was talking about like the conductor of a train, getting them to piece it together, like what a conductor is, and it usually involves movement. So basically building those, they understand the words, but just piecing together how they know the words.
Amber put the same thing in the text, right? Trying to make those connections to what the students already know, things that they can connect to. Absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, it was supposed to be non-inferential, but it was so nice to see an in-person lesson. after watching that, I very much missed that a lot, the in-person teaching. But I will let Legina continue.
All right, so next steps. So we've already said that the district is focusing on student engagement, and we have two paths for you when it talks about your lessons in your room. So the first path is, you know, if you feel really good about that student engagement, and so you would be willing to record at least one model lesson focused on one of the core actions, social emotional learning / so that would be student engagement. And so we're thinking about the date between November 19th and January 14th. And we would like to be able, if you're doing the lesson virtually, if you would invite Chelsea or myself, and then your CDI support person, and then that lesson would be focused on core action 3. And so for this, you would email your CDI support person prior to the model lesson, just so that they could get a little bit of an idea of what you are doing, and then when you're going to do it. And then you guys would plan kind of like a post just to kind of discuss what kind of things that would talk about the engagement that was seen. Sorry, I lost my thought. And then the next part is if you're like, you know what, I have a little bit of an idea of class visit, but I just student engagement, but you just want a little bit of feedback. So it's the same time frame from November 19th from January 14th. But with this, you would record yourself teaching, and then you would watch it back, kind of maybe like a 30-minute chunk, and then use the core action 3 look fors, and then you would kind of reflect on your practice. So it's kind of two avenues. One avenue if you're like, you know what, I got student engagement, it's my jam, with the modeling the lesson, class visit, you're just, you know, there are some things that are a strength for you, but maybe you're looking for some things that you can improve. Any questions about that? And the time frame is the same. And the reason why we have, except for the week, that was more for the model lesson, if you wanted us to come out, is because as a department, we are getting trained in Orton Gillingham. And so the nerd in me is very excited because that has been on my teacher bucket list for a long time to get trained in Orton Gillingham. So this would be a part of the expectation. You have to choose either the model or the class visit from now until right before our next. There is no IELP in December, and so that's why it's a long span. Chelsea, anything in the chat?
No questions.
You guys are gonna love. Chelsea, and I don't have a question, but I am so excited. You guys are gonna love Orton Gillingham. I'm K-12 trained. It is so fun. You guys will love it. Oh my God, it makes me so excited.
It's been so long since we've been able to attend a training, so we're pumped. We're excited.
Virtually.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about homework.
Okay, I think this is me. So, so what's required for your homework between now and the next PLN is either signing up to do your model lesson for core action 3 if you feel that you're ready, or if you're like, I'm not ready yet, then signing up for your class visit. Because no matter what, we still want to see engagement, right? And just like, this is not an observation, right? We are just here to work with you. We know that you guys are leaders. So just signing up for that, you will need to reach out to your CDI support person if you need to schedule any visits or anything before you sign up. So just remember that. And then your lesson planning for that model lesson or visit will count for work time. You will also need to read Lead Like a Pirate Section 2, X Marks the Spot, Leadership Treasure. So the whole thing between now, that's 2 months though, so plenty of time. And then just don't forget to invite your CDI support person to observe. Now the next thing is any questions about the required homework? or are we good? You can always reach out to your CDI support person if you have more questions. But our next thing is our choice board. So what we decided to do this year is, because you all can have 6 hours per month, and we don't always, in your required homework, it's not going to take you 6 hours. We decided to create a choice board. Legina, will you go to the next slide for me?
Okay, go back. Am I in? Okay, I jumped ahead of you. This, the work log?
Wait, oh, maybe it's my computer.
No, it's me. I was paused. I'm so sorry.
Go to choice board.
Y'all, I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. Is this what you want?
Yes, please. So, and then Legina, on the Pear Deck too, I don't know if it's coming up for them, just make sure they can see that. So for your choice board, there's a ton of different options depending on the amount of hours that you need to get done. But some things include, like, you can collect your student work samples and grade them using the WIDA rubric. Add that into your beginning of the year data tracker to kind of see how your students are going, especially if you have goals of exiting students. Others are like presenting PDs for your staff or for a PLC team. A couple are like technology things, like attending a PD for Nearpod or Pear Deck, or this one is becoming a book creator or certified author, and there's a link there to do that. And I'll tell you kind of how to do all that if you love book creator or want to learn more about it. Some other things, creating I wish my teacher knew videos, right? And then sharing that with staff. That's a leadership thing, kind of sharing with your staff how the L experience. Some other things on here. We have some different PDs coming up. There's an option to help us out with those PDs, and that will get you some time. Creating TED Talks or podcasts about your section in Pirate, or Lead Like a Pirate. There's a podcast by the author of Teach Like a Pirate, but I think the husband of the author of Lead Like a Pirate. He does a podcast with the new EDU. You can listen to that and write a reflection. If you want to host a family virtual office hour, you can claim some hours for that. Or if you noticed in the book, there were some challenges after your chapter, and you could choose any challenge of any section and do one of those. So there are lots of options on there. We can go way more in depth with those, but because of time, we won't. I would just say, reach out to your CDI support person or Legina or I, and we can kind of talk about these more in depth with you. But we wanted to give you some choice this year.
And if you decide, you might decide, you know what, I'm okay with not getting my 6 hours per month. And that's okay as long as you do the required. We just, wanted to give you the full. And so I think Chelsea has a breakdown.
Yes. So I have a breakdown in just a second. I think the next thing is that you may just want to you're going to need to add anything extra to your choice board. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading your slides to your work log. Can you go to the next slide, Legina?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Wait, you want the work?
Go to the work log one. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So on here, there's a couple of things you're going to need to add to your work log, and an example one is going to come up for you to see. Don't forget to add your section that you read, your section of Lead Like a Pirate, because you can claim hours for that. And then for December, you're going to have to add your lesson planning for core action number 3, your reading of section 2, and any choice board activities that you do. So you'll need to add that into so those are my examples. Those are not in your work log yet. Don't forget to add them, but you have access to this example. It's in Canvas as well. Now, in addition to that, if you decide to do a choice board activity, make sure you add that as well and add in the hours. Again, you are linking anything that you create in this work log. You don't need to submit anything in Canvas. Everything is going to go into this work log. Any questions about that? I know speeding through because we're getting low on time.
So we only have to document our hours in the work log. We don't have to do a timesheet or anything.
The timesheet will come later, but we're going to talk about that, in just a second. Any other questions? All right. So for the hours to claim, for November, you should be all set. So even though the launch was in October, we're going to say that we're going to claim those hours for November. I think we can still put October 29th, but you can count it towards this one since you did not get a timesheet in October. So that was 1.5. Doing your SMART goal was about, we said like 30 minutes, and then the BOI data gave you an hour. So 1.5 hours, that's 3 total. Your core actions no catcher, probably about an hour. Reading your section of Lead Like a Pirate, because it was short, about a half hour. And then attending tonight would be 1.5 hours. So that's your 6 hours for November. Should be all taken up. But for December, your required only takes up 4. So your lesson planning, and then you're reading the section 2 of Lead Like a Pirate. So that should only take up 4 hours. That gives you 2 more hours that you can choose something from the choice board to complete. And then coming up in January, you'll have your PLN, your lesson planning for core action number 1, you're reading your section of Lead Like a Pirate, section 3. So then you'll have 1 hour. So if you want to just kind of plan that out from your choice board, and the next couple of months, that's 3 hours. You can figure that out however you want based on the activity you choose.
Could you go back one slide? Just
yes.
Real quick.
These slides, and we can send this all out in an email as well, but they're also in Canvas. So you will have access.
Joanne, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Screenshot is amazing too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I always forget that.
I teach middle school. I say it 3 times a day. Every class at least. Like, just take a screenshot, you guys. Let's go.
And then this is just if you forgot who your CDI support person is. And then timesheets. So the timesheet, your timesheets for October, November, December, and January are due January 29th. So when we meet with you for your January PLN, we'll talk about filling those out, but you have access to these in your folder. So we will do paper timesheets. And just remember that if you do something, make sure it's during the week, but after your hours, your regular work hours. You could put 5 to 8. If you are a curriculum writer, let's say you curriculum write from 5 to 7, and then 7 to maybe 9, you do your IELP. Just don't let them overlap. I know we have some curriculum writers in here. And then, like Chelsea said, just make sure, that's just a little checklist, but we can go over this more in January.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just don't let your hours overlap if you're doing something else, and make sure they're after your school day, and then put them on a weekday. And then,
oh, so we can't do it on a Saturday or Sunday. It has to be a weekday.
Kelly, can you confirm that? Because I thought it.
No, I think for the only days you can't log hours are holidays.
Okay.
And teacher work days, you have to do it outside of the work day. So
Okay,
you
so
still, like, you log, no, you're good. I think weekends, you're fine.
Okay.
Don't log hours next Thursday or Friday. Don't just, even if you work those days, log them on a different day.
Yeah, I always say to like double check the calendar, always double check the CMS calendar, because if not, we'll get it kicked back to us, because some holidays you don't realize are actually designated holidays, and you're like, oh, well, never mind, can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You thank you for clarifying that, Kelly. And then that is it. Here is your eval. You can click on it through Pear Deck, and it does have IELP listed. And then if you have any questions, we'll answer them. Thank you for joining us tonight. And so then once you do your eval, if you don't have any questions, you are free to go. Thank you guys. It was a good group. Lots of good discussion.
Yes. We're excited.
Yes. Bye. And if you have a question, Chelsea and I will hang on for a little bit. Lynn, did you have a question? Oh, maybe she's saying bye. Just kidding. I'm so tired. I think my brain is not functioning. I just noticed that Joanna's background, is that the kitchen from Friends?
Yep.
Oh, it is.
I think we find some new backgrounds.
I know. I need to. All right. I guess if no one has a question, then we'll go ahead and log off. All right. Last call. No questions. All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.